thank you. I'm joined by the former Director of National Intelligence, Rick Grenell. He's also the former ambassador to Germany in New York City as the UN General Assembly is ready to discuss several issues over the next 2 weeks, including the war in Ukraine and the global energy shortage. Also being discussed are the cyber attacks Iran is executing on several countries, including Albania. For more on this, we are joined by the Prime Minister of Albania, Rama. Mr. Prime Minister, it's great to have you with us.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.
I want to start with the big news today. Of course, the funeral for Queen Elizabeth II. I know that you were with the Queen 3 years ago to mark the 70th anniversary of NATO. What was that experience like?
This was a big reception in the Buckingham Palace, and of course, it was memorable for me, and I'm sure for everyone. But I would say that there is no better way to put it than how the French president has put it for the British. She was their queen. For all of us, she was the queen. So it's a very strong feeling all over the world, and it touches everyone exactly because it was a bit like the queen. And while the Brits have now the king, we don't have anymore the queen.
Right. Were you nervous at all before that experience? I've heard former American presidents saying that that was one of the only times that they were nervous was before they were in the Queen's presence.
They had to be nervous because they had to have an audience with her. They had to consume time with her, which was not my case. I could hide behind other right. NATO allies, and although I am tall, I could avoid nervousness. So.
Mr. Prime Minister, for our American audience, I think people understand that Albania has been a member of NATO since 2009.
Yes.
And you recently came out with a very clear and strong statement accusing Iran of a cyber attack, multiple cyber attacks on Albania. Obviously, that created worldwide news. You were very clear about kicking Iranian diplomats out of Albania. What has been the response from NATO allies, and what is the latest on these cyber attacks?
So I want to make it very clear, it's not that I accused Iran, it's that we have proof based on a very thorough forensic work of the Microsoft intelligence threat super team, and also of super squad of American specialized agencies, that behind the attack it is the Iran, the state, the Islamic Republic of Iran, which sponsored 4 groups, among which one of them, namely among the top cyber terror groups that was behind attacks on Saudi Arabia, Israel, Kuwait, and so on. So it's not an accusation, it's a fact. And on the other hand, we realized that it was time to cut every relation with this regime, because as a matter of fact, we could not let anymore their embassy continue to be in the middle of the capital city and work as an operational center to harm our country.
Have you talked about Article 5 with NATO members? The attack on one is attack on all. As a NATO member, this is an attack.
It's true, but at the same time, we have preferred first to build up not simply an awareness, but to build up an alliance for support. Because what we need now is to fasten all our plans in building state-of-the-art cyber defense, because even after the big, massive 15th of July attack, we had another one, and we are prepared to see more to come, because everyone knows that this regime is engaged in this kind of activity all over the world, and it's very preoccupying that this is happening while the common defense answer is not yet there.
Should the Biden administration be negotiating with the Iranian regime at the same time that the Iranian regime are clearly killing gay people, killing women, and making a cyber attack on a NATO ally?
Now, it's not up to me to say it, because Albania is a very strong and committed ally of the United States. And of course, we know our place. We know that it's not on our shoulder to take the burden of big, big decisions. But having lived in a very similar regime for years, which was not a religious totalitarian regime, but was an atheist totalitarian regime, I can tell from experience that dealing in our own way, meaning the way of democratic countries, with this kind of regimes, it doesn't seem to me a very long-sighted vision.
Mr. Prime Minister, 7 months ago, I don't think most people in America could find Ukraine on a map. This is your region of the world, Albania not far from Ukraine. Can you talk about how this war has affected the people of Albania in that part of the world?
First of all, I have to share with you and with your audience that Albania is a particular case because it has a particular history. We were the North Korea of Europe. We were isolated from both the West and the East. And we had no ties with Kremlin since 1960 for bad reasons, because our dictatorship wanted Kremlin to remain Stalinist, to remain ruthlessly opposed to every kind of dialogue with the West and so on. But on the other hand, this history made us completely distanced from Russia. And in these 30 and a bit more years of, let's say, build-up of democracy, we never had serious bilateral exchanges. We never had the Russian president visiting Albania.
Right.
We never visited the Kremlin. And really, I don't miss it. So for us, and on the other hand, we don't depend on Russian gas. We are completely renewable in Albania, with our own problems, because it's hydro-based energy, and when the big guy up is not crying enough,
right,
we have to suffer a lot the lack of water, so we have to import, and then we are affected by the price. But all this being said, I conclude by saying that it's not difficult to keep a very strong position while in a country where Putin's popularity is less than 1%, and where 99% and a bit more of people believe that this is wrong and this aggression is unacceptable, and we should stand with Ukraine, and we should stand for what we believe in.
Okay.
I
have a very serious question about
You always have serious questions.
your art talent. The Prime Minister is an amazing artist. Is that book available in the United States? Your art, can Americans see? How could Americans see that you're the Prime Minister of Albania, a NATO ally, and an artist?
First of all, I don't know how much the word "amazing artist" can be appropriate in this city where really amazing artists are everywhere. But I've had the honor to be invited and to show my work at Marion Goodman Gallery, which is the Gotha of the contemporary art. And there are still my works there, so everyone can go and
What type of art, if I can ask? Painting?
The best type of art.
Yes.
So this is the easiest answer to explain your art, while it's more complicated than that. It's I paint in office, so I continue to work as Prime Minister in my office, but in the meantime I make my drawings while listening to my collaborators, while being on the phone, and in less let's say burdening weekends, I go and work with a friend of mine and do my sculptures.
I would like to see some of these.
I have the book.
Do you?
I will share it with you.
I would like to see those.
Share it with
Mr. Prime Minister, thanks so much for being with us this morning.